Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Suzanne Purcell, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of.
Welcome back to the show. I don't think you need another introduction. I just wanted to say congratulations for being crowned. I'm just going to say crowned top writer on Medium in
Thank you.
Feminism. That's huge.
Yeah. I'm really, really happy about it and kind of speechless, but yeah.
So you're speechless because
I don't know. I started writing on Medium after I graduated from UCLA, and everybody always says about Medium that it's like only a few people earn any money on there or get a real audience. And I was just like, well, this is probably what's gonna, maybe that's what's gonna happen, but I'll just keep writing about topics that I care about. And I really enjoy doing research and kind of learning about new stuff and then formulating an opinion about it and then kind of sharing it with the world. And also the great thing about Medium is that people can comment. So there's been a lot of great conversations in the comment sections of some of my articles. And yeah, it just slowly led to more and more readers, and now we're here. So yeah.
yeah, it's not easy, We had it to be, and I'm not saying it's easy. I think it's just it's that simple. And we tend to, in so many areas in our life, complicate everything and anything because we get it our own way.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I was this close to not starting at all. I was really like, it was either or. I was like, you know what? It's not going to work. Or then maybe I should just try whatever. So it was like on the verge of me not even trying, which is crazy to think about. And it's crazy because there are so many things that many of us go through in our lives when we think, it's not worth it. I'm not going to even try. And then that could have led to something. Maybe it would have led to failure. Who knows what even is failure?
Exactly.
But I think there are so many things that we don't do because the percentage of not making it or whatever is so big. But you never know if you don't try.
And then what does making it actually mean? Right.
Exactly.
First of all, I think that is something that holds us back.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning, not taking action, like looking at the big picture and not looking at, the tiny little steps that we can take. And I think, you were in the system of ballet, you went through the schooling, you went through, you were part of a big company. And I think it was never, ever about the process. It was never, ever about the becoming. It was always about the end goal.
Exactly.
And when we live our life that way, it becomes very draining very quickly because we don't have any grace with ourselves, meaning that even a step back could mean that we're actually evolved.
Yeah, I think with anything that you do, if your main reason of doing it is the end result, so say money or a prize or recognition or whatever, you're most likely just going to be miserable for most of your life. I think the main point with everything that you do is to enjoy the process of doing it and the actual, I don't like the word journey, but whatever, the journey of doing it, so that your everyday life consists of actions you do towards that goal, but you enjoy those actions and those actions bring you joy and meaning, not just the goal. Yeah.
Mm.
And when I think about writing on Medium, it's I mean, I'm super, super grateful and happy that I got that kind of recognition from them. Oh, a dog is barking. Sorry.
Don't worry.
I'm super happy that I got that recognition of them, but even without it, I just enjoy the work. I enjoy kind of grasping onto a topic. I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" And then I research it for days and days and days. I interview people. I try to understand the history and context of this issue, and that's what I like doing.
So it's about staying curious and being open to learning something
Yes.
new all the time versus chasing the I've got to do it all, know it all, be it all
Yes.
today. Otherwise, I am not worthy. So doesn't that so much link back to let's look at our careers, right? Like as
Yeah.
dancers, on how that was shaped and how that was installed and how we learned about. It was all about the title and
Yeah.
not about our why are we doing this? Where is it
Yeah.
bringing us joy? That was never ever being drawn out. It was
Yeah.
never ever really held as a, hey, when it gets hard, remember this.
Yeah. That's that's really sad and so true. I don't remember ever during my career or my student life as a ballet dancer kind of having anyone ask the question of how are you experiencing this, or how does this how do you feel like when you train or when you go to class every day? What is the experience? I mean, when I'm thinking about, if I ask myself that question sometimes, like, am I doing this? I always had the idea of, I'm doing this because I want to be a soloist, or I'm doing this because I want to be admired. I very rarely could take myself back to, I'm doing this because I just love to dance, which is obviously why, I started, and most of us
Right? That's
in
what
public ballet start. Yeah.
exactly. That's why we all started and we're
Yeah.
using that why along the line. And then I have to admit it had threaded itself so much into my life even after being a dancer. It was always about chasing the next title, the next, okay,
Yeah.
we are now $1 million store. How else like can I hit 1.5? Can I hit 2? Then I will be worthy. Then I will be promoted. And when we're in that chasing, we're looking for validation always from the outside, and we're not going to be in a hmm, happy and fulfilled state.
Yeah.
And when we don't know what that feels like, or when we not even have an idea what it could be, there's really no reason to chase after that happiness,
Yeah.
that fulfilled one.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I never ever want to go back to the other side because I was consistently stressed out. I
Yeah.
consistently did not feel like I am worthy. I consistently reacted to everything that came at me versus creating what I wanted to see in my world. And I think that is the big difference that we're seeing like in the I would even say in the entirety of the performing arts world and other areas too. If you look in media, for example, that can be too, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, what's your thought on that?
Well, I relate to a lot of that. If I think about my days in the ballet company, I was definitely by definition unfulfilled and stressed and unhappy. And when I think about how I feel now, surely I have those kinds of moments. That's human. But I've definitely learned to switch from seeking validation from others and external things that are always not not completely in my control. I can never completely control how other people view me, because that's based on their life and their history, and they're just mirroring, everything that I do and say to what they've experienced, and I can't control that. I can only control how I feel. And obviously I try to not think about just how I feel, but how I make others feel. But I'm talking about specifically seeking validation and admiration from other people, which I was doing and paying so much attention to during whoopsie my 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 ballet days. And now when I think about what I get my fulfillment and sense of joy from is I mean, it is my relationship with other people. I I get a lot of meaning from moments when I feel like I connect with other people, or I can help someone. I feel like I had a meaningful conversation. Those are the moments when I feel most alive. And then work wise, it's it's those like feelings of curiosity that really spark my I feel like, oh yes, I'm learning something new. I'm reinventing something. I'm switching some way of thinking, and that's exciting to me, and that brings a lot of joy to my life. And that's not external at all. I can completely control that myself.
Oh.
So yeah, that was a really long answer.
No, I love it. It's all good.
Yeah.
The last time we met up in LA, we had a beautiful conversation around identity, fitting into the need of fitting into a box. Let's talk about that because uh, both of us have struggled with that, needing to fit in a box. We have made ourselves and fit in boxes that were given to us by the industry. And I can talk about myself. I never felt like I fit in.
Hmm.
I never really had a comfortable place in these boxes. And that's when we start to adapt numbing behaviors, like anything, abusive relationships, like you name it, drinking, smoking, just completely numbing out in front of Netflix, not being inspired, not wanting to learn. These are all numbing effects. So we don't have to deal with our own emotions. So that was me. And that was the result of having to be somebody that I actually wasn't.
Mhm.
Your turn.
Well, that's really interesting. I've actually never I've heard that term, but I haven't really like never dove into that. What does that actually mean? But I recognize a lot of that behavior. For me, it was food, for sure. I always had a sense of not belonging in the opera house. I always had this feeling this is not the life I'm supposed to live. Something doesn't feel right. I thought everything was gonna feel more beautiful than this. I always had that feeling, but I definitely suppressed that down because obviously I'm like, well, no, this is my dream. This is what I should be grateful. I should be happy. This is exactly everything that I wanted. And I remember I bought my own apartment when I was quite young in Helsinki, and it was a beautiful apartment. It had white floors and big windows and a balcony. And I was in my 20s. I had a job at the opera house, and I woke up from that beautiful apartment and I was thinking, how come nothing feels good? I'm in a I'm in my own apartment in my supposedly dream job, and everything feels great. And the way I dealt with that was by overeating and then restricting. So I had a really bad binge eating problem. My eating disorder went from sort of, anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, orthorexia. It's all kind of, very rarely people have just one that they identify with. But I've definitely noticed that binge eating is even more of a taboo than anorexia and bulimia, but that was my way of numbing. Sometimes I ate so much that I felt like I couldn't breathe. And then other times I would, use unhealthy ways to purge, or then I would just restrict for weeks and weeks. So, yeah, food was my kind of numbing effect during those days.
Something you could control, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And funny enough, in the same way, I can have extreme control over it. But then during the binge eating times, I felt like I had no control over it, which is interesting.
Oh,
Oh,
and
hold on 1 second.
don't worry. We can, doesn't matter. I think what is so intriguing
Mhm.
and also sad in another way that let's look at what recently boiled up in the ballet scene, right? In a dance, like the Zurich Ballet School is under the limelight. Who else? The Paris Opera director just announced that she's stepping down, not even after a long time being in there. The Paris Ballet School is, in the newspaper for abuse and. So what I want to celebrate is that people are starting to find their power, that they are actually understanding that how things have been, it's not the way. It's not the right way. It's a very powerless, keeping you quiet and formable way of teaching an art form
Mhm.
that hasn't really evolved in quite some time. So that's great that in 2022, we still have to talk about this, that we really only unearthing what's going on a very, I would say, top level kind of area. That makes me sad. What makes me sad is that we're not understanding that becoming a dancer, being an artist altogether is not only and even less than ever about skill, but more about who we are as a person. I've listened to quite a bit of sports legends interviews, and whenever they when they were asked what they want to leave behind, it's like they don't want to leave behind their legacy as being a great football player or basketball player. What they want to leave behind is that they made a difference in the world,
Yeah.
like who they were and who they could mentor and whose life they could improve. That's their main goal. They change the conversation when it's about their achievements in sports. They want their kids to say, my dad has done this, not saying he was the greatest football player on earth. So,
Yeah.
and I find that interesting because we as artists, like that's all we're chasing. It's not about the human being and who we are, because it has been dismissed for such a long time, as in, okay, you have to be this kind of human, you have to fit in this kind of box in order to
Mhm.
call yourself a successful, a worthy artist.
Yeah, that is interesting. I I just thought of a moment when I was still dancing at FMB. I think we were performing Don Q or something, and a bunch of dancers were behind the curtains before the show, just kind of warming up and getting a feel with the floor. And then there was a soloist who I shall not name, a soloist who was trying her own pirouettes, and kind of just getting in everybody else's space. And then I remember just an older dancer just kind of turned to me and said, very quietly just to me that, no one's ever going to remember how many pirouettes you did on stage, but they are going to remember if you were mean or nice. And I always thought about that. I was like, yeah, actually, I don't, when I think about how I, remember people, I'm never like, oh my gosh, yeah, that dancer who retired, she was so beautiful on stage and she did so many pirouettes. And oh my goodness, I admire her so much. More likely, I will think, wow, she was really nice to me always.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
her energy or her presence
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
stage was really delightful, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
we connect with. We don't connect with
Definitely.
skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your superpower? What are your superpowers?
I remember you asked me this question when we went first up, and I was like, I don't know. Now I think my superpowers are my curiosity, my willingness to always learn, and my sense of empathy.
Beautiful. I love it. Yes.
I wish I was wearing my, I have that blue sweatshirt that says empathy in different colors. I almost wore that. That could have been a good thing to now be like,
That one, you know, and I'm so proud of you because that's, oh, hello, honey. Because sometimes, not sometimes, so many people are actually afraid to be honest with themselves and know what they're great at. They can tell you at any given point what their flaws are or what needs to be improved. But when we talk about superpowers and what we're great at, nobody really knows. Not nobody.
yeah,
Many artists have or struggling with identifying what they're great at because it's not embedded in companies, it's not embedded in the culture because it's seen as something arrogant and we shouldn't be talking about that.
oh yeah, and definitely. Oh my gosh, the cat is playing with a plastic bag.
Awesome.
Hold on.
So the most intriguing thing here is I think that when we're talking about superpowers, that superpower can also change, for example,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, and it probably will change. It's our lives are long, and we go through different phases. But yeah, definitely what you were saying before. If we think about ballet, which is what we know, all we ever are taught to think about during our training is what we don't do right. That's all we really hear. We hear the occasional, good, that was better, but rarely, you are really good at this. And even if we do hear that, it's never about who we are as a person. It's just of what we can do with our body or what we look like. Like, you have really good feet, or you have a really long, beautiful neck. So I think that was always the thing that kind of bothered me, at least towards the end of my career, was that I felt like nothing I felt inside or thought about mattered. So I felt like I was just some kind of like, doll just on a hanger, like, okay, just telling me I have, nice feet and nice lines and bad jumps. I'll just hang here.
And never jump and have great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it makes you feel like a shell of a human, because of course we feel things and of course we go through emotions. And I really, really think, and I hope that in ballet we start to kind of pay more attention to how artists are experiencing things and experiencing themselves and how they can bring themselves to the stage and not just be another body in the corps de ballet that's just, dead branch there. That's not fulfilling. And somebody might think that doesn't matter. They're just corps de ballet, but that's not true. Everybody matters.
Everybody matters. If the corps de ballet is up, the solos in the middle can
Yeah.
do whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I find it intriguing and interesting that you brought this up because it's what came up for me was mostly that I don't even remember ever being seen as a person, even as a woman.
Well,
Actually, it was encouraged not to become a woman. It's like, can you flex your breast muscles because they jiggle? Why are you like, you need to do this and stop being, a person and a personality. But then when you get into the theater and you are asked to be a person, somebody that's interesting, you have no idea who you are. Nobody gives you the I would say the string to get you out of that and understanding that who you are is beautiful and that there's always room for learning and improving. And I think that is actually one of the biggest mistakes that we have made in the ballet world, particularly over the past couple decades, not allowing people to be people, not fostering any kind of self-development, and not really putting in leadership skills. We need to be able to lead ourselves. And the only way I remember I was led was through fear. And when that extreme fear wasn't breathing down my neck anymore, I didn't know what to do. Like I was completely lost. And so allowing artists, and what actually really truly makes them artists is who they are, how they see the world, how they perceive, you know, themselves, the world. That's how we create art. And I think that's the reason that I cringe so many times when I see dancers open their mouth and they just perpetuate for 30 years somebody else said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can see there's nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, yeah. I mean, I think we learn to mirror our teachers' thoughts and words so much. I've noticed that a lot of dancers will adapt the same mannerisms even as their teachers. So they just kind of become like mini versions of them and then later on just become them. And that's especially problematic if the teacher has, these unhealthy habits of bullying and calling names and whatnot. That's how it goes from generation to generation. But yeah, the idea of womanhood is an interesting one. I kind of latched onto that because I when I stepped away from ballet, I was really confused about who am I and what am I? How am I a woman in this world when I'm not in the ballet world? Because I just remember always being told to be not to be so childish and not to be so girly and be more of a woman, be like a cat or something. And so that was the idea of womanhood that I had. And it's kind of quite a toxic one and not really a sustainable one. So yeah, I think finding womanhood on your own terms in the ballet world is really difficult, especially with if you go through the teenage years when your body is changing. That's usually kind of frowned upon. And so it's really confusing to go through that and find your way into it in a way that feels natural and good to you.
Yeah. And being okay with it too, right?
Yeah.
Not shaming yourself for going through the ups and downs of your hormonal journey,
Yeah.
actually celebrating it because that's, our body is what enables us to be actually on stage and perform, but yet
Yeah.
we shun it so much.
Yeah. This childish body is still very much idealized. And I also remember I was just talking about this the other day that I was told to get a boob job just to be skinny, but have like,
Perky breasts.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was 17. So that kind of,
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, what's next in your journey? Like, what are your dreams? What's in your stratosphere?
well, I'm hoping I get to write and learn and have a voice in that way. That's, I think, my ultimate dream, that I could make a living with writing, which I'm doing at the moment, which is,
So you're already actually doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have obviously a lot of personal dreams as well. Hold on. My boyfriend's being really loud. I'm thinking, should I go
Well,
upstairs?
I can't
Okay,
hear.
if I change the,
It's okay. No, it's
okay,
all good.
okay. So yeah, I obviously have a lot of personal dreams as well in terms of, the relationships I make with people and family. And then I've gotten into acting, kind of fell into it on accident almost. And that's something that really excites me. And I get a lot of kind of those similar kinds of feelings that I got when I started dancing and I went on stage for the first time. But this time I'm trying to approach it in a way that I'm just enjoying learning about it and seeing the progress I make. And I try to make most of every opportunity I get. But I'm for once not approaching it in a way like I have to make it, I have to get a role, I have to do this. There are so many no's in that industry. So many. Again, it's something that you can't really control yourself. Kind of like in the ballet world. Maybe somebody just doesn't like your face. That's where
Right.
it's a role.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it I don't take it personally. I'm just grateful for everything that I do get, and I see where it goes. And I'm, like we talked about in the beginning, just trying to enjoy the process of it and the actual work that I do instead of the end result, which I don't even know what that is. Who knows? We'll see.
And you don't need
Yeah.
to know, right? I think
Yeah.
when we have that, and it's not to be said too that it's not advantageous to have goals. Goals are great. I think though that we're attaching goals more to actual things versus how we want to feel. And that's, I think, where we can go not wrong, but where we have such a tight grip at times that we're in our own way, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Goals can become suffocating if you don't allow for them to change and evolve. And if you don't, you know, sometimes goals can just become things that keep you in a cage instead of things kind of give you purpose and excite you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've definitely felt that sometimes.
Yeah.
With goals. Yeah.
So where can we find you? If listeners want to start following you, where are you most, the social media? Where are you active? What's your medium?
I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram at SUSUBIE. I'm pretty active on there from time to time. But I recently took a break from Medium to focus on my book, but I'm on there now again. So I'm writing weekly on Medium. And I also, with your help recently, kind of activated myself on LinkedIn. So that's kind of the three mediums that I'm on mostly. And if I do publish anything on another platform besides Medium, I usually post that on Instagram.
Beautiful.
So that's where, and LinkedIn, of course, now. Yeah. Since I've learned to kind of navigate through that.
So with where you are today, let's assume you could talk to your 16-year-old self. What would you tell her?
Oh my goodness. I actually did this exercise a couple of years ago where I wrote a letter to my 16-year-old self. I think my therapist told me to do that, maybe. And it would be actually interesting to read that again. But I think I would tell myself to stop seeking validation from others and to see how I'm beautiful and how smart I am and how capable I am and stop putting myself down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Focus
Great
on the
message.
people around me and how they make me feel. Yeah.
Very nice.
Just try things. Just try. Even if you fail, just try.
I don't think there's only one way to fail or two. It's never to try. And when you fall down, not to get back up.
That's
To stay down.
Yeah.
And declare defeat.
Yeah.
And I think the staying down doesn't mean that saying, hey, I gave it a fair shot. This is not what's meant for me. So I'm going to pivot.
Yeah.
I would say defeat is crawling up in a bowl, saying I can't do anything and just
I'm shit. I can't. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, my love.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Love having these conversations with you. Go follow
It's best
Suvi.
conversations.
Go check her out on Medium. There are some really cool articles if you enjoy reading. And yeah, thanks for what you're doing. And I would say I'm so enthralled and intrigued. And whenever we meet, like there is change to you. And because that's hard too, right? Letting
Yeah.
go of who you were because we get scared of so many things that if we change,
Yeah.
nobody likes us anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Change is scary. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I love our conversations. Yeah. Thank you for
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you know the drill. Go tag us on Instagram, share your biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
This episode to somebody who could benefit from it. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.